Hi, I'm Sue, and this is Savage Spiel War Stories. Scion is the game that made me want to be a GM. I'd grown up reading Roger Lancelot Green's Tales of the Greek Heroes, and so an RPG in which the player characters are the children of gods was right up my street. I couldn't wait to bring it to the table. And despite a rule system that none of us ever particularly liked, it went pretty well. There were, of course, a few hiccups. And one of those hiccups was a player character by the name of Tetsuru Nakamura. Tetsuru was the son of the Shinto god Hachiman, the Lord of the Eight Banners. And one of the divine powers that he had gained from his father was the ability to understand and speak the language of doves. Now, this didn't particularly stand out to me. I just kind of assumed he might have a dove messenger at some point, but no. The player went to vast amounts of effort and research in order to convince me that your standard London pigeon is in fact a type of dove. I wasn't convinced at first, but he made his case extremely well, with sources to back it up, and eventually I was forced to concede. Pigeons are doves. From then on, every pigeon that he encountered, "Oi, boss, got any chips?" Pigeon communication was not the only exciting thing about having Tetsuru as a player character. The other characters noticed rather quickly that he seemed to have a rather straight line sort of thinking about him, to the point where pretty much every encounter seemed to come down to a kind of flowchart. It would begin with Tetsuru finding a thing, and he would investigate whether or not it was a thing that you could talk to. If it was not a thing you could talk to, he would awaken the kami inside it and then talk to it. If it was a thing you could talk to, he would bisect it with a katana. Now, this presented some challenges to me as a new GM, partly from the amount of time I was now spending role-playing as unexpectedly talkative inanimate objects, partly because of the way that my baddies kept getting bisected. And this wasn't in itself a problem. They were, of course, intended to be killed. But Tetsuru was so very, very good at bisecting things that an encounter that was in any way challenging for him had a very strong chance of completely obliterating the rest of the PC party. Now, to be fair, some of them did find creative ways to use Scion powers to get around this. What I can't see, literally, can't hurt me. However, I did figure out that if I was going to be a good GM, then I needed to have more encounters where just bisecting something was not the answer. I needed more social and mental encounters. And so with that in mind, I sent the party off to Japan to deal with Kuchisaki Onna. Kuchisaki Onna, or the Slit-Mouth Woman, is a Japanese urban legend, and she is a pretty creepy entity, and I really wanted to invoke some of the spirit of J-horror in this particular encounter. That didn't happen. Now, I will acknowledge, part of it was my fault. I was a new GM, I hadn't quite figured out things like how to deal with the party getting a really significantly higher level of success than I was anticipating. And so part of the insanity of the ensuing scene was down to me. Am I beautiful? Also, why are you wearing a bandolier full of bananas? So yes, that was on me. However, I don't think that I'm responsible for what happened next. Now, in this game, I had an NPC who was a prophet, and now and then I would have her send prophecies to the characters, which would give them a bit of a hint about what was coming up next and how to deal with it. These were generally quite cryptic, but knowing that Tetsuru tended to think in straight lines, I would try to be a bit less subtle with the haiku that I sent to him. The warrior must lay down his sword, some great deeds have no need of steel. Now, I thought this was pretty clear. The situation, which they would shortly be encountering, was not one that you could solve by violence, so try something else. Tetsuru, on the other hand, interpreted it completely literally as punch ghost in face. You do know I'm incorporeal, right?